buyers and sellers don't need to fear insurance. They just need to plan for insurance. That is something.
Hi, everyone. This is the producer. Don's camera was giving issues during this recording. We apologize. Next one will be fixed.
Welcome back, guys. Real Talk Real Estate. My name is Scott Warner with the Capstone team, brokered by EXP. To my left is
Donovan Johnson. I'm with Coldwell Banker, Ingle Safari. And today we're going to be talking about, I would say, a silent killer, but it's actually very lethal, especially in Southwest Louisiana, and that is insurance.
Yeah, this is part of the buyers that they were like, hey, look, nothing really serious about it, but now it's getting to where it's serious, especially in Louisiana.
Right. And man, I've seen some serious people that are past inspection and everything, and the insurance numbers come back even higher than the initial pools. And it can be for a lot of different reasons. We'll talk about that. But insurance costs is just so, it adds to the payment. It's just so much stuff that it does that it can price you out of a deal.
It does. So today we're breaking down why insurance is now a front end issue, not a closing detail, like you said. Insurance used to be just this little checkbox item. Check, I got insurance. Well, now it's just not there anymore.
Right. And just like how everything continues to go up, whether it's inflation or what, replacement costs are higher. It just takes more to fully replace a building or whatever you have insured. Materials cost more. Like, I remember during COVID, wood was so expensive. It was ridiculous. And the third thing is that, guys, imagine if you're an insurance company and there's been a couple like hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever, flooding. Now you're going to go re-inspect everything, and people have tighter guidelines. They're walking roofs now, not just sending the camera. There's just so many more hoops to jump through before they're like, yeah, I'll put my name on this.
Yeah, like you said, now there's different types of inspection, 4-point inspections, checking the roof, checking the plumbing, checking the electrical. Look, some companies, it's gotten so real that some companies have pulled out of certain zip codes. Like State Farm, I don't think goes anywhere below I-10 nowadays, but it fluctuates because sometimes I call my friend who's a State Farm agent. And he's like, yeah, I can do that one, or no, it can't. So always check it. But I mean, this is getting serious.
Right. And there's only so much flexibility these lenders have. Like, I know Citizens is like our base model. So if you see that, that means every other insurance was just ridiculous because Citizens doesn't have the best rep. But it's just like how if a loan doesn't appraise, well, you got to kind of come out of pocket. With the insurance, you just got to keep adding coverage. And if that monthly, including the escrow payment, is too much, we just seen deals fall apart.
You're 100% correct. And you talked about Citizens. Citizens is bonkers high. And guess what? Some people have to pay that nowadays because that's all they can get. When insurance falls apart, the deal stops. I had a couple deals when the government shutdown happened. FEMA is a big insurance carrier for flood. And guess what? When that shutdown happened, transactions stopped. I had 3 transactions waiting for the government to open up again. I mean, it is a big deal now. It's not this little checkbox anymore.
Were you able to kind of hold the deals together?
I was, and one I actually had to like do a early occupancy and try to get them in because they were like, look, Scott, if we're not in this house, I am not going to do another lease for another 3 months and buy this house. So
Fair.
I had to get the sellers to be like, hey, we'll finally let them in. And these were some tight sellers. And I was like, dang, this is not going to work. But luckily, as soon as they got back to their family, I guess they did not like Louisiana at all. They loosened up real quick and they were like, sure, they can rent. And everything worked out perfectly.
All right. I was about to ask you about how that worked with early occupancy. Did they like
They took the early occupancy. We paid them a per diem per day.
See, okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
What was the guidelines?
We paid them like $46 a day, and they lived in there a week and a half, and the government opened up, and we were able to close. So it does work, but once again, you have to have an agent ready to be able to make things happen on the fly.
Absolutely.
Because if you just have an agent that's like, well, no, you got to go. You got to jump through the hoops real quick and get your clients where they need to be. I mean, right now, buyers' mistakes that create insurance problems. We're going to talk about some of those. What do we have going on in that?
Some of the biggest mistakes is waiting too long. It's usually on your lender, though, to start pulling insurance quotes early for you so you can get a ballpark idea before they bind a policy.
Yeah, insurance isn't quick anymore, but you're exactly right. It's about getting help. Does that mean that you have to do everything? No. That's why we say we have so many tools in our toolbox, because guess what? A great lender already has four insurances ready to go and has already priced them by the time that you get done with inspections. So it's important to have great lenders, great realtors, great every part of the deal.
Yeah, and another mistake that can be just detrimental is assuming that the current policy is basically what you're going to get. You can't really follow the same guidelines. It can be assumable, yes, but even after the assumption, there's a good chance that insurance is going to be jumping.
You're right. The policy could be outdated. It could be null and void. I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, flood insurance policies are usually assumable. Other insurances are usually are less assumable, but you could have those assumable ones. But the thing is, you have to read over the policy. And once again, that is why it's good to have an agent that has a good lender, because guess what? They're going to be doing that reading for you. They're going to be making sure that you are protected the way that you need to be.
Absolutely. And buyers, sometimes it's easy to get caught up on the small details like your mortgage monthly payment, but there's more to that. There's also your insurance and taxes that are added into that monthly note. So, excuse me. It's just important to not just factor in one thing when there's a good chance you may be having to spend another $150, $200 even potentially.
Yeah. When insurance comes in high, the payment suddenly doesn't work. Their debt to income is then off. You're thinking, oh, debt to income, that's a big thing. Well, guess what? $100, $200 for a higher flood insurance policy. Well, guess what?
You were saying about buyer's insurance?
Sellers, yeah, that's what I was saying. Sellers don't always realize how insurable their home actually is.
And here's the thing. We talked earlier about how how the insurance companies are really tightening up guidelines.
Yeah.
If they see an older roof, metal, sometimes I've seen it go both ways. Outdated electrical panel, if you got knob and tube going out your panel, or the Georgia
FPE, Federal Pacific Electric.
Federal,
it's called stab locks or redheads. That's how we called it.
No bueno. All that stuff adds into things just costing more.
Yeah, prior claims, unrepaired damage can cause multiple issues. Sellers assume that the house is insured now, it can be easily insured again. Well, guess what? When the sellers had the insurance, they have kept the insurance going. They haven't lapsed in coverage, hence the reason why insurance is still on their house. If they've lapsed, then guess what? They're going to be picking up the bill. But at this point in time, the sellers have the insurance because they're needed to have it because they have a mortgage on the property. When you have a mortgage on the property, you have to have insurance because the bank is making you have that because that's protecting their investments.
Absolutely. So, just to kind of summarize what Scott just was getting at is, just because the house is insured now doesn't mean that you're just going to be able to skip in and get the same insurance, because there's a good chance times change. Things are always changing. I mean, I started in more of a hot market, more of a seller market, and we've been in a buyer market. So things are always fluctuating, and you just have to keep all details in mind.
Yeah, you and I have seen deals completely fall apart and fail because coverage could not be obtained. And when it's talking about coverage being obtained, it's talking about insurance. If you're able to get insurance for this property.
Right. And it just can sometimes suck when your inspection goes through good. You probably spent $350 on that. probably negotiated money during your inspection period. Then your appraisal comes in. I mean, that's every bit of $450, $500. So imagine being $850, $900 in, and then having to potentially navigate through insurance. And it's a lot of the times like rail like walkway stuff that the insurance will flag, but it could easily turn into this big thing because a roof, if you ask Scott about his latest roof stories with my broker, then it's just things can get serious very quickly, and stuff costs money, and something has to give.
And once again, the transaction hinges on these things. I mean, the insurance gets quoted late or denied. If you're on this railroad track and all of a sudden the insurance gets quoted late or denied, well, guess what? You're off the tracks, and it's up to us to get you back on. And sometimes we can't. Sometimes the deal is just done.
Right. So the thing you want to try and avoid and stay in the front of and talk to their lender and be pulling these quotes, because the buyer starts to panic. If the lender starts to have to pause because they can't do nothing and they're waiting, that deal starts to fall apart, and then everybody loses.
Insurance isn't the exciting part of real estate, but nowadays it's one of the most important parts, especially in certain areas. We can say this especially because we live in Louisiana, where insurance is a big deal. Other parts of the area that, I don't know about, insurance might not be that big of a deal, but it's still a deal killer wherever you live.
Right. And I'm going to say this about the insurance. I feel like, yes, we're hitting a bubble that our insurance may suck. And there may be some other places in the country where insurance is tough, but just because our insurance are high, well, their property taxes may be higher. So there's always give and take. You just have to know how to deal with it and pick somebody that hopefully to where you don't have to do as much thinking, and we don't even really want you fully reacting emotionally. We want to make very sound, logical decisions. So get in front of it. Let them know if you think the insurance is going to be high. Like, they always ask questions right away. What you think the monthly is going to be? I usually be throwing up some numbers really high just to get them prepared, and hopefully it comes in lower. But yes.
Buyers and sellers don't need to fear insurance. They just need to plan for insurance. That is something that your agent can walk you through, especially when you choose good agents like us. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, everything that you can do for us helps us out. We'll see you on the next one. My name's Scott Warner again.
I'm Donovan Johnson. Appreciate y'all.